Welcome to the Bank of America Arena at Heck Edmondson Pavilion on the campus of the University of Washington and the 2006 University of Washington Freshman Convocation. The Convocation is a celebration in honor of freshmen and their families, welcoming them to the campus community. This marks the 23rd such ceremony since the tradition was revived in 1984. It is not generally known that the university held convocations from the 1920s through the 1950s. Records in the university archives do not indicate when or why the earlier convocations were discontinued, but until its revival in 1984, it was at least 20 years since one had been held. Speakers for today's event include University Marshal and Associate Professor of Philosophy Ronald M. Moore, President Mark A. Emmert, Provost Phyllis M. Weiss, the President of the Associated Students of the University, Colin White, and Mary Gates Leadership Grant recipient and scholar, Arshia Quadri. The keynote speaker is Dr. Ed Taylor, Vice Provost and Dean of Undergraduate Academic Affairs and Associate Professor of Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. The title of his convocation address is Crossing the Threshold. Again, welcome to the 2006 University of Washington Freshman Convocation.
The University of Washington Freshman Convocation will be opened with the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner by Mr. Lincoln Johnson, accompanied by the University Wind Ensemble, conducted by Professor Timothy Saltzman of the School of Music. The audience will please rise and is invited to join with Mr. Johnson in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. What a lovely day. It's just a perfect day for a freshman convocation. I'm Ronald Moore, the University Marshal. In my regular job, I teach in our philosophy department, but as University Marshal, I have two special ritual duties. First, I lead the academic procession and make sure the president doesn't get lost. And second, as you will have noticed, I carry the mace. Now, the mace is an ancient symbol of authority that reminds us that universities are custodians both of the enduring traditions of learning and of the power that they bestow on those who come to learn. It's also a reminder that the learning process has not always been comfortable and easy. In the early universities in Europe, it is such animated discussions with their professors that their raucous debates often spilled out of the classrooms and into the nearby streets and coffee shops and taverns. And this is why there had to be a mace. The marshal was called upon to wield the mace to subdue parties who got out of hand. It's interesting to note that it's not only universities that have adopted the mace as a symbol of authority. Neither House of British Parliament may hold session unless a mace is present. And our own House of Representatives has a mace, which is entrusted to the Sergeant at Arms, and this mace is presented to an unruly member of the House when the debate goes on too long. Last happened in 1994. Maxine Waters of California kept talking, and the shout went up from the House, "Get the mace, get the mace." Now, the University of Washington mace itself is an actually beautiful object. It's embellished with finely wrought metal sculptures of the university seal and of Denny Hall, and a Latin inscription on the third side that says, I think roughly translated, make checks payable to the University of Washington. And it's surmounted by a beautiful rendition of Drumheller Fountain. I've been instructed not to damage it by bashing unruly students. The mace and the festive medieval gowns we wear on occasions such as these are visible links to a grand history. Coming here, you are not entering into the experience and traditions of only this university. You are at the same time entering a continuous stream of accumulated learning that connects us today with the greatest institutions and accomplishments of the past. The greatest writing, the greatest music, the greatest art, science, and philosophy, and athletics. How about that game yesterday? Yes. And so much more in all times and all cultures. It is the nature of the university to gather and preserve the best ideas mankind has hit upon, not to present them as sterile exhibits in some stuffy museum of lofty thoughts, but rather to make these ideas a solid foundation from which new ideas can spring. It is the university's way of being liberal to be conservative. We draw upon all we have gained from experiment, composition, analysis, and invention to free our futures by ensuring they develop out of knowledge of our pasts. The mace and these medieval gowns we wear on occasions such as these are symbolic reminders of the university's special way of uniting where we are now with what has brought us here. Above all, a university is a place where free and orderly thinking is cultivated, one where every idea is given its due and tested in the crucible of critical reflection. In the words of Bartlett Giamatti, who was president of Yale before he became the commissioner of Major League Baseball, a university is a patient and persuasive hierarchy designed to cherish a particular value-laden, lifelong process and the individuals within it. That is, the educational process wherein the individual, often alone, often with others, seeks constantly to clarify limits in order to surpass them, constantly seeks to order the mind so as to set it free. I think that it's for this very reason that a great university, and our great university in particular, is the natural and best place to begin the vital, arduous process of counteracting hatred and prejudice. In its limit-setting and liberating way, it seeks to locate the trailhead of a path to a better, safer, more tolerant, more reasonable world. This is, I think, a particularly important mission in this time of international distrust, misunderstanding, and political unrest. Finally, let me today's event. A convocation is, as those of you who recall your high school Latin may remember, a calling together. Today we call together our incoming freshmen and their families so that we may celebrate with you the beginning of university education and welcome you all to membership in our campus community. This is the 23rd such ceremony since the tradition of freshman convocation was revived in 1984 after a 20-year hiatus. By calling all of us, students, faculty, family, and friends, together in this place, we're underscoring a point of cooperation and mutual commitment. You, students and your families, and relatives and friends, are now members of the University of Washington family. Like families everywhere, we'll be sharing our concerns, our affections, our aspirations, and our devotion to the project of creating a better future. We sincerely hope that these newly forged family connections will be lifetime bonds of friendship and allegiance, And we hope that you will always feel as proud and happy about us as we already feel about this outstanding incoming class. I now want to introduce the man who will preside over our ceremony today, Dr. Mark Emmert, who was a freshman like you at this school not just a few years ago, and now is president of the University of Washington.
Thank you. And thank you, Professor Moore. Well, truth be told, it was more than just a few years ago when I was a student at the University of Washington. I'm a very happy alumnus from the class of 1975. But the fact of the matter is that I, because of that experience, know something that you students don't fully appreciate quite yet, and that is you're about to embark on an enterprise that will utterly and completely transform your life. I know from firsthand experience that what you are about to enjoy and work through and occasionally even struggle with is a process that will leave you in 4 or 5, in rare cases, parents, 6 years from now, as a completely different person than the one that sits here today. You will see the world in ways that you never thought you could see it, in fundamentally different senses of understanding that world, and more importantly, you will understand your role in that world and what it can be in fundamentally different ways than you do today. Because that's what a great educational experience does for minds. You will attend 2 great ceremonies, 2 most consequential ceremonies in your time at the University of Washington. This is the first one of them. This is the ceremony in which we officially welcome you into the University of Washington. And the second most important one will be your commencement, where we will officially send you on your way and have you leave the university and go out and do all the wonderful things you will do as students and alumni of the university. In between time, there'll be many ceremonies, formal and informal. There'll be many events that you will enjoy and relish, and there'll be some fun events probably in this very room where you will enjoy sporting events and other artistic and cultural activities that go on here in Heck Edmondson Pavilion. But none will be as important as this one and the last one. The other thing you need to know is that you are, in fact, a very select few, even though it doesn't look or feel like you're a few. There were this year between 17,000 and 18,000 students who wanted to be members of this entering class. The students that were selected to come here, you, the freshmen this year, are among the best prepared that the university has ever seen. Indeed, I think, and we'll find out in the coming years, that it is in fact the most prepared and the most creative class that's ever walked onto this campus. And we are delighted to have you here. The other thing that will happen in those 2 The other thing that will happen in these 2 ceremonies is you will twice, once today and once at that next ceremony, get an opportunity to stand up and thank the people who helped you come here. I would like all the freshmen and entering students in the room to please rise. And now what I'd like all the students to do, remain standing, I'd like all the students to turn to your family, your friends, your parents that are here and applaud them for getting you to this moment in your life. Thank you. Now, parents, here's my word to you. You're going to have to leave campus here pretty soon. There'll be a few tears. Your sons and daughters will cry a little bit. Trust me, they're faking it. We will do everything in our power to make sure that your sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters, friends and loved ones, this new freshman class has a wonderful experience here. That it's safe, that it's fun, that it's challenging, that it's exciting, that it's transformative. And some of that transformation process will look a little lumpy every once in a while. Sometime they'll come home for Christmas break or spring break, and you'll think, who is this person and where did they come from? That's part of their process of learning and growing and becoming the great young men and women who will be here at the next most important ceremony, the commencement. Thank you for entrusting the university with your sons and daughters. It is a wonderful thing to do. We will not let you down, I promise. Welcome to the University of Washington, each and every one of you. And now I would like to introduce the platform party. Please hold your applause until I've introduced everyone here. First of all, let me introduce the regents of the University of Washington, those citizens of Washington who are entrusted to oversee and care for this magnificent university of ours. Chair of the Regents, Fred Kiga. Student Regent, Jennifer Fabian. Regent Bill Gates. Regent Sally Jewell, Regent Connie Proctor, and Regent Shelley Yap. Ladies and gentlemen, the regents of the University of Washington. And now let me introduce the academic leadership of the university. We have with us today the chair of the Faculty Senate, Gail Steigel, the provost of the university, who I'll introduce more in a minute, Phyllis Wise, vice provost for student life, Eric Godfrey, executive vice president, Weldon Eyrig, vice provost for global affairs, Susan Jeffords, vice president for development and alumni affairs, Connie Kravis. She'll be the one calling and asking you for money later. Sheila Edwards-Lang, interim vice president for minority affairs, Executive Director of Media Relations and Communications, Norm Arkins. And now let me introduce the deans of the university. Dean Ron Irving from the College of Arts and Sciences. Dean Sid Nelson from the School of Pharmacy. Dean Matt O'Donnell from the College of Engineering. Dean Bruce Baer from the College of Forest Resources. Associate Dean Pete Dukes from the Business School. Dean Nancy Woods from the School of Nursing. Dean Daniel Friedman from the College of Architecture and Urban Planning. Assistant Dean Gary Olson from the School of Social Work. Dean Patricia Wall from the School of Public Health and Community Medicine. Dean Arthur Knoll from Ocean and Fish. Interim Chancellor Steve Olswang from the UW-Bothell campus. Director of Odegaard Libraries, Jill McKinstry. Dean Harry Bruce from the Information School, and our convocation speaker, Ed Taylor. Ladies and gentlemen, the academic leadership of the University of Washington. We also have a number of individuals who are students and who will be speakers today, who will be introduced more later, but please welcome them now. President of ASUW, Cullen White. President of the Graduate and Professional School Society, Kimberly Fries. The Mary Gates Leadership Scholar, Ashia Quadra. Distinguished Teaching Awardees, Sangha Parker, who's Associate Professor of School of Drama, and from the Business School, Professor Bill Wiles. Excellence in Teaching Awardees, Georgia May Roberts from Comparative History of Ideas. The President of the Alumni Association, Greg Blodgett. You have already met our Marshal, Professor Ron Moore, and the marshals that are helping us with this convocation today, Perry Hart from the School of Medicine, the Chief Convocation Marshal, Sandra Madrid, and then the full convocation marshals, Roger Grant, Kay Lewis, Todd Milden, Michael Peterson, Renee Singleton, and Susan Terry. Thank you very much for the entire platform for being with us today. And Janelle Dover, I almost forgot you, I apologize. And lastly, let me ask you to join me in thanking conductor Timothy Saltzman and our student wind ensemble who's playing our wonderful music today. Timothy and our students, thank you so much. And now let me introduce your student body president, a political science and economics senior who has just entered his senior year as the new president of the Associated Students of the University of Washington, Mr. Cullen White. Cullen.
Pretty good job. Thank you very much, Dr. Emmert. Parents, family, friends, faculty, staff, and my mom, thank you for joining us here today and welcoming the freshman class of 2011 to the University of Washington. Today stands as one of life's more significant and nerve-wracking moments. This is the beginning of a time, one of the only times in life, where you will be able to assume all of the responsibilities of adulthood, all while wearing a hooded sweatshirt, sweatpants, and a pair of flip-flops, regardless of the season. It's a time where you don't have to always do things in traditional ways, because you're expected to test the boundaries. These are your years to figure out what works for you, what your passion is, and what you want from life. Many of you are incredibly nervous today. Some of you extremely excited. Most of you a mixture of both, and rightfully so. This campus looms large in land size and population. You will pass by thousands of upperclassmen who will make everything seem so easy. You've now been presented with a selection of hundreds of majors and thousands of classes. And if that is enough to make your head spin, Seattle itself, in all of its majesty, comes equipped with an almost infinite number of distractions. But it's okay. If utilized properly, a larger campus means more opportunities, more friends, and more resources. We have tremendous advisors, hundreds of student organizations suited to your interests, and world-class faculty and staff right at your fingertips. Oh, and it's quite all right to allow the attractions of Seattle to serve as a relief from the monotony of school every once in a while. My advice to you is to take advantage of these resources. Engage the people on this campus. At no other time in your life will there be so many people who want to help you find your way, who want to help you learn and succeed inside and outside of the classroom. You may find such incredible opportunity to be a tad bit overwhelming. I know that I did. Taking advantage of these opportunities is no easy task. It takes a great deal of courage. However, the rewards are much greater than the risks. I went my entire freshman year without ever getting involved on campus, without actively pursuing new friendships, and without getting knowledge of what was available to me. I went to class and I worked. Then, over the course of fall quarter, my sophomore year, I learned the hard way how easy it is to access the resources on this campus. I lost my father to a battle with cancer, which prompted me to reach out for guidance. I went to the Gateway Center in Mary Gates Hall and found an advisor who cared about a lot more than what classes I should take. He listened to my woes, encouraged me to follow my interests, and remains a good friend to this day. From that point on, I began to extend myself to areas of campus once unknown to me. I discovered my best friends, my mentors, and my passions. I can honestly say that had I not taken advantage of the opportunities that I've had, I would not be as satisfied with my college experience. And I can only imagine the experiences I could have had I reached out sooner. I waited for a significant event in my life to occur before I took advantage of the wonderful resources around me. Don't wait for a loss to make a move. These 4 years will go by much quicker than you could ever imagine. Challenge yourself every day to figure out more about who you are and learn about the people around you, because there is no greater asset. You all have come here today from different walks of life, but after you walk out of these doors, you will all move forward as Huskies. Congratulations. The University of Washington is a wonderful place to be. Good luck to you all, and make sure to have some fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Cullen. And now I would like to introduce the Mary Gates Leadership Scholar recipient who's going to be speaking to you today. Arshia Quadri is a neurobiology major and a human rights minor. Now I want to say that again. She's a neurobiology major and a human rights minor, because that's a reflection of the kind of diverse interests that the students at the University of Washington have and the extraordinary opportunities that are presented to you as you move through your academic coursework. Arshia is a graduate of Linwood. She's now finishing up her work at the University of Washington with her last year. She's a wonderful representative of the student body here, and it's my great pleasure to introduce her to you. Arshia?
Thank you, President Emmerich. Good afternoon, and welcome new students, families, and members of the UW community. After high school, I wanted to study computer engineering. Why not? Everyone was talking about computers, computers, computers. I would get a great job and also fulfill my parents' expectations. So, when I started, I only took classes in my major. I wasn't interested in exploring other options. I did well, and I was content. Then, I took my first real computer science course. The class was fine, but I did not enjoy the coursework. My lack of enthusiasm became obvious when a friend and I were working side by side on our projects. He was thrilled to be up at 3 a.m., discovering errors in his program. I was irritated every day the code to fix mine. I began asking myself, do I want to be a computer engineer just so I can have a solid paycheck? Am I passionate enough about it to succeed? I began to doubt my future plans, so I started to explore. In an anthropology class, I learned about issues of social justice and exploitation of the poor. I heard the story of a young village girl in India that was trafficked and forced into prostitution. She was tortured, starved, and isolated to break her will. She had to smile and dress up, despite the psychological trauma she endured. Even after she freed herself from sexual slavery, her society did not accept her, and she struggled for a meal, shelter, and health care. Slowly, I realized this was not one girl's story, but it was the story of too many girls. I was disturbed. I couldn't help but think, what can I do? I started working with various student clubs and organized a forum to raise awareness about this modern type of slavery. We raised money to support efforts to rescue trafficked women and help youth in the red light areas. I felt intense satisfaction knowing that I had done some small thing to help. I came to realize that passion and satisfaction are exactly the ingredients necessary for a successful life. Now, I have a vision for my future. I want to be a doctor and an activist, and I want to continue to create awareness of the voices that go unheard in our world. I certainly could have become an engineer, but it was not the right challenge for me. I had to give myself time to explore, make some mistakes, and discover my passions. As new students, you all will have many opportunities to explore, to make your mistakes, and to discover what you want to do. As you learn and contribute, listen to your inner voice to discover your passions and start living them. Thank you.
Thank you, Arshia. And now I'd like to introduce the provost of the university. Now, for those unaccustomed to the academy, it's often a bewildering set of titles. There's deans and provosts and vice presidents and regents. We wear silly garbs every once in a while. So let me tell you what the provost is at a university. It used to be, by the way, that the provost was one of the people who also carried the mace and used it on students. We gave that tradition up. Today at the modern university, the provost is the chief academic officer, the person who works most closely with the deans and the professors to shape the academic experience that you all will enjoy. The provost is the person who has a huge and profound impact on what transpires on the campus, in the residence halls, and the entire UW experience. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce to you our provost, Dr. Phyllis Wise. Phyllis?
Well, it is my real honor and privilege to introduce today's convocation speaker, Professor Ed Taylor. Ed is now accepted the position as of June as the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Academic Affairs. He is a faculty member in the College of Education. Ed received his PhD from the University of Washington, concentrating in educational leadership. Ed is an incredible scholar, an incredible leader, an inspiring Vice Provost. In his quote-unquote spare time, he is a volunteer and a generous volunteer in the community. He has served on the Board of Trustees of Gonzaga University. He was the awardee of the Volunteer of the Year Award from the YWCA. So you can see that and the respect of the community is far and wide. I want to introduce to you Ed Taylor.
Thank you, Provost Wise, President Emmert, members of the Board of Regents, my colleagues, many of whom I see here. I am honored to be here to represent you in this moment. To all of you, welcome here to this convocation. It is my honor to join you here. This moment to welcome you to this place, to this community. I want to speak first to you parents, guardians. Would you please raise your hands just for a moment? Parents, guardians, 11th, there you are. There you are. A word or two to you. I've been thinking about you a great deal lately. Spent the last few months, when I was asked to do this, I started thinking about you, about the gravity of this moment for you. It occurred to me that for some of you, it's probably not that long ago that you were holding these babies in your arms, perhaps rocking them back and forth, maybe reading a book or two. Some of you read. Perhaps Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind or another, his mother called him Wild Thing. And Max said, "I'll eat you up." So his mother sent him to bed without eating anything, and Max went into his room, and he dreamt that the ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world all around, and an ocean tumbled by that took Max in a boat to a place where the wild things were. Max tamed those beasts, he danced with them, returned home, and there was a supper waiting for him when he got back. Maybe you read my favorite book by Robert Munsch called I'll Love You Forever. Simple book. Mother holds that baby of hers, rocks him back and forth and says, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as you're with me, my baby you'll be." She rocks him back and forth and says those words, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as you're with me, my baby you'll be." Eventually, that baby grows up, holds on to mom, whispers in her ear, "I'll love you forever." The story allows us to imagine the possibility, the probability, that these young men and women sitting next to you will one day, if we come full circle, for some of you, hold on to you, rock you back and forth, whisper in your ear, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as you're with me." Perhaps in the form of a letter, perhaps in the form of a visit, they may hold on to you. And you will know, I know some of you, and you will know that you have done well at that moment. This moment is indeed about their transition. It is also about your transition. You have come to this threshold. I know this. I was sitting at brunch with several of you, and one of you, Howard Berry, you looked at me and said, "This is much harder than I imagined." I know that it is. You've come to this threshold, and now you can expect your university to come to the threshold along with you, hold out our hand, extend an arm to you, and be a part of this journey. We will hold on to these young men and women. We will care for them. We will challenge them. We will guide them. We will educate them. We will comfort them when needed. And we will do all that we can to honor your faith in us. Let me underscore that point. Your being here, our being here together, is a remarkable act of faith. Your faith in us, our faith in you, our collective faith in them, our faith in each other, that is what a good and great university is. We should be proud of ourselves. This is the kind of faith that holds a university together. Now you, parents and brothers and sisters, what you can do in this moment, let's take a page out of another book. Good night, Moon. Perhaps you can go into their room tonight, tomorrow, when they move out, perhaps their new room, maybe their old room. Walk in there. Maybe they're not even leaving this room. They may be leaving at home, but walk in the room anyway. Take a look around like the rabbit did and say goodnight to everything in the room. Good night, lamp. Good night, bed. Good night, slippers. Good night, pajamas. Good night, those few toys that are still there. Turn out the light and know that everything will be okay in the morning. And know that, as President Emmer said, we will come back together again before you know it. So for you, those of you who are now freshmen, you are now Huskies, we are so proud of you. You become part of a tradition that dates back to the 17th century in America, the 12th century in Europe, indeed medieval tradition that we were a part of. For 2 centuries, at this university, students have been educated here, and you become a part of that tradition. Oh, I've spent time thinking about you also. I took some time this last week, and I just roamed through the hallways where you would be roaming. Just roamed up and down these empty halls thinking about you. I came back to campus last night, and I sat in a lecture hall, and I sat right in the middle, and I imagined that you will be there. I walked over to Odegaard Library and then over to Suzzallo Library, and I looked up at those statues above Suzzallo. What a remarkable building. I looked up at Da Vinci and Franklin and Beethoven and Darwin, those great thinkers, those 18 great thinkers. And imagine you standing before them, imagine, who are these people? Who are the thinkers that are left out of this picture? Who are the great thinkers that are to come? As I walked over here, I stood for a moment in front of that fountain and that mountain, and I thought, this is an incredible place. I sat across from many of you yesterday in Husky Stadium, sat across and watched you raise your hands in victory and scream and holler. Some of you had that little paw painted on your face. Some of you had your bodies painted. Some of you were doing some things we'll probably talk about later. You had fun. And you willed your team to a victory. We were proud of you. You received a common book called Mountains Beyond Mountains. I hope you read it. I imagine that you did. I see some of you looking like, oops, I better get to it. That's okay. What did you think of it? What did you learn about what an individual can do? What did you learn about global health? What will you ask Paul Farmer when he comes here in November? What will you ask Tracy Kidder when he comes in here in February? Have we come closer to creating a learning community through a book, through reading, coming together? Oh, I've thought about you. There are more than 5,000 of you in this class. You are a large and diverse and talented class. You come from Seattle, you come from Yakima, you come from Tenino, you come from Bickleton, you come from North Carolina, from Guam, from Chile, from Greece, from Japan and Zambia. You come from private schools, public schools, 1 or 2 of you are even homeschooled. Some of you went to school just over the bridge, about 4 miles away. Some of you came a continent away to get here. And imagine, you'll be in hallways together, in classrooms together, in coffee shops together, in residence halls together, in apartments together, in a university district together, in restaurants together. What a community we will be. This class, your class, is positioned to make a statement. Here's our chance to come together and cut across those cold winds of segregation and separation that have blown our way for so long. You will take us to places that we have never even imagined. There are young women in this room right now that will go places that women before you could only imagine. You will go places that my mother could only dream of. And when you get there, we will be there with you, and so will my mother and her mother and those that came before her. Go there with pride. As a member of the College of Education, I've had the great pride to go and visit high schools all over the state and all over the country. I've been to some of your high schools, and my job was to come and find out, why would you come here? Inspire you to come here. I've been to schools all over the state, all over the world. I was thinking about you just a couple of weeks ago. I was at a school in Eastern Washington. I was asked by the superintendent just to come and inspire a group of 19 kids to perhaps come here and take your seat next year or the year after. It was a wonderful request. I was happy to fly over there and do this. However, the one mistake that he made, he arranged for me to meet with him on a Friday morning at 5:30 in the morning. Can you imagine anything less inspiring for a 17-year-old than to meet with the likes of me at 5:30 in the morning? To make matters worse, he sends us into the cafeteria, gives us name tag, and I heard the door lock behind us. I've got an hour. Young Malcolm put his name tag on, put it upside down, sat in a chair and went right to sleep, cocked his head back and just went dead asleep. I leaned over, I said, Malcolm, can you wake up? I'm here to motivate you. Just give me 3 minutes to inspire you. Just wake up, just lift the eyes up. His buddy next to him is nudging him. Dr. Taylor's here to speak to us. Would you please welcome? That's Dr. Taylor, okay? You all go back to sleep, okay? I just asked a simple question, one question. I just had time for one. I asked those 19 kids, how many of you, when you come to the university, will be the first in your family to do so? Do you know that every hand in the room went up? Let me ask you, you here, how many of you will be the first in your family, are the first in your family to come to college? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're the first in your family. Welcome here. Went to another school. 95, 98% of these kids were expected to go to college. They knew well that they were going to college. I went to talk to them. I was asked to inspire them. This time at 5 o'clock in the evening, which was as bad as 5 o'clock in the morning, right? These kids were looking at me like, we've been here for an hour and a half after school and we'd love to, can you motivate us so we can go home now? One young girl, I had a moment to talk to her. She was carrying an instrument, a horn of some kind. And she walked next to me and she said, Dr. Taylor, just because we're all expected to go to college doesn't mean we're necessarily going to be successful there, because the challenge for us is to make it our education, not everybody else's. She held up this horn. She said, it's a little like playing in a jazz band. Sometimes you play together, sometimes you play along with the music, and sometimes you have to step forward and play solo. For us, we have to learn how to play solo. We have to learn to own our music. And she said goodbye. And I stood there, mouth agape. She said, our success is not guaranteed. I will visit schools in South Africa this year, and I will think of all of you as these kids stand up and they sing Nosso Sikelele Africa as loud as they can, and it reminds me that your being here is part of a tradition of struggle for decency and civility and democracy. It is about a struggle. It is about something good and much bigger than we've imagined, and it is also about the fact that you did not get here by accident. You struggled to get here. This is about a tradition of struggle that comes with great labor. I thought about you. I was looking through your syllabi. I was sitting in your classrooms. I was looking through your textbooks. I made my way to the bookstore, thinking about the kind of things that you're going to be thinking about and studying soon, looking at the questions in these syllabi. I talked to your faculty. I met some of the new faculty coming in. They are remarkable. Some of your questions. Do plankton swim away from oxygen stress? Now, I don't know the answer to that question, but you know what? In a few weeks, some of you will. How do we construct matrix representations of geometric transformations? I don't know the answer to that question, but you know what? In a matter of weeks, some of you will. What is genocide? How do we end poverty? What makes democracy work? I don't know the answer, but I know that we have a responsibility here to struggle with the question, and we will. What are the implications of global climate change? What are molecular motor proteins? It's a matter of hours where the fundamental question will be, the fundamental issue will be, if you don't understand the oceans, you don't understand the planet. Open your textbook to page 65, let's begin. Some of you will dance, some of you will sing. Do it with verve, do it with verve. Here's some opportunities that you're going to encounter here, that you will encounter here. An opportunity to engage in research and discovery. That's who we are, that's what we do. Research with your faculty, research on your own, to ask questions. Opportunities to engage in service. Your colleagues, your UW students spend thousands of hours in community service in our community, and so will you. Opportunities to learn in another country. Opportunities for discovery, preservation of knowledge, advancement and dissemination of knowledge. That is what it means to be a research university. You'll have opportunities to experience great teaching. Trust me on this. Some of those great teachers are sitting here. You will experience fabulous teaching. A colleague of mine, Jim Clowes, we lost him a couple of years ago. Jim used to tell me, Ed, you're not teaching if you're not creating some disequilibrium. You got to shake people up a little bit. You have to change, you have to transform. You're not teaching if you're not creating some disequilibrium. Let me say this much as an aside. Some may tell you that this university is too big, too massive, too large to be a compassionate community. Come talk to me sometime and I'll tell you stories of compassion and love. I'll tell you about Jim Clowes' last lecture. Come talk to me. But this is not about stories about Jim. It's not about my stories. It's about Cullen's story. It's about Arshia's story. Mine may not be as relevant. After all, I'm 8 to 10 years older than you. And what's so funny? Here's what I do know. We will come back together again. You will leave this university with a diploma. We will come back and you will be in full regalia, and so will we. You will take that cap off and you will throw that mortarboard in the air and we will celebrate. You will raise your arms in triumph. You'll fumble around and you'll take out a camera and you'll hand that camera to the likes of me, and then you'll stand there with your friends and your family and you'll strike a pose. I don't know why you strike that pose. My job is just to take the picture, not ask questions, and tell you not to knock grandma over, just to stand still and you'll be there. The old hug yourself pose. I don't get it, I'm just gonna take the picture. Okay. We will know that we have done well here by the stories that you tell. Thank you, Arshia. Thank you, Cullen. We will know that we have done well here by the stories that you tell in the end. Let them be stories of humility. Let them be stories of despair and frustration, moments where you sat in the classroom and said, I don't understand, moments of triumph when you figured it out. Stories about moments when you were great, stories about conflict and conflict resolution. Stories about sacrifice, stories about friendships that will last you the rest of your life. I still get emails from my roommate in college. He's in Idaho Falls. Don sends me an email every now and then. How you doing, Ed? What's the latest? It's been 30 years, Don. I'm doing fine. Got a new job. I'm doing well. And you? Idaho Falls. How's big city life, Ed? He asks. How's Idaho life, Don? Make your mark here. Do your best here. Begin the story of your class, of your education. Begin a story that will make us all better because you are here. Be great here. I want to end with a line that my daughter taught me. She's taking a Latin class and she's in 7th grade. And we're all learners, so let me give you my best. Here it is. And this is a line that you might use after exams or after a good day. Ego terminalve nunc plaudet. Again, ego terminaue nunc plaudit. I am finished. You can applaud now. Good luck and go well.
Dr. Taylor, that was absolutely wonderful. And you know, to demonstrate the power of the University of Washington education, before Ed came to the UW to get his PhD, he went to Gonzaga. So look what he had to overcome to be that articulate. Thank you so much, Ed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the conclusion of our convocation ceremony. We are so pleased to have you here. We are so pleased and proud to welcome this new class of Huskies in, my fellow Huskies. Welcome to the University of Washington.
The University Alumni Association invites parents, students, and other guests to enjoy complimentary refreshments in the West Concourse. Now, I think that's up at the W level here. It's one level up from the floor. So come join us for some refreshments. The audience is requested to remain seated until the completion of the recession by the platform party. The 2006 Freshman Convocation of the University of Washington is now closed.